All right, so the top 5 things I learned from running the Berlin Marathon. Number 1, make sure you have enough fuel and hydration. The biggest thing that I saw happen on race day was that a ton of people did not either pack enough gels or they had no sodium on them whatsoever. They had just water stations that they were grabbing at every once in a while. I think the biggest thing that you can do is make sure that you have your hydration really mapped out nice and even. Big thing that I did was the night before I used a pre-mix to get my carbohydrates in, and then throughout the race I had 6 gels on me total, and every 35-ish minutes I was making sure I was taking a gel. Each of those gels had about 40 grams of carbs in them, so I felt full the entire time. I didn't feel like I was getting depleted too fast, and I also felt that my hydration levels were great because I made sure to stop at every single water station. Number 2, water station etiquette. Now, this was something that was a little different in Berlin than probably other races. The water was only on the right side of the road in Berlin. And on top of that, the water stations used plastic cups instead of paper cups. It was plastic cups, so normally you can crumple something and throw it away. With this, it was a plastic cup, so you would try and break it and then throw it down, and somebody would trip over it because it doesn't break down as easily. So make sure to have great etiquette when you are going through those water stations. It really does help everybody else around you. Number 3, make sure that you are fueling properly leading into race week. The biggest thing that I knew a lot of people also did was they ate really late the night before and they just had this really heavy stomach heading into race day. I was eating pasta all the way up until the day before the race. My last meal was at 2 p.m., 3 p.m. the day before the race, and then I was making sure that I was getting enough hydration in throughout the entire night. So I made sure to get in my pre-pack of carbs as well as my sugar, my glycosamine levels. I wanted to make sure that they were in a good place heading into race day so that I wasn't depleting as I was running, and then from that being able to put any kind of impact or pain on my body. So very big thing to note, make sure your food plan heading into race day is as effective as possible. Little tip that I can say is the morning of, I woke up, my race call time was at 9:15 a.m. I was up at 6 getting some carbohydrates into my stomach already. So I went through about 3 to 4 of these little caramel and honey waffles. I also had a pre-mix pack of carbohydrates, and then I had a banana, and I was just drinking as many liquids as I can get in leading up into me heading out for the start line. Number 4, make sure to use the bathroom before the race if you can. The amount of people who I talked to at the finish line who were like, I wish I used the bathroom before the race, and they didn't, and then they had to stop on the side of the road and go to the bathroom. Like, if you can use the bathroom before the race, do so. I promise you it'll help you out. And number 5, running in traffic. So not traffic as in the sense of cars, but traffic as in the load and volume of people in the race. There was 50,000 plus people running the Berlin Marathon. I went out inside the first wave of people with groups A, B, C, and D, and it was crammed. And the biggest thing I saw happen was running etiquette was kind of all over the place. The hard thing with an international race is also a language barrier. So I was really mindful to be using hand signals as I went down to the right. I used a small little finger touch to the right. If I was passing somebody on the left, I let them know I was passing on their left. Those things really become helpful in the race because when you have so many people around you, the smallest bump can trip somebody over and then lead into an argument. And then, as I saw, lead into a couple little fights that were small and were de-escalated pretty quickly, but there was a bunch of people getting in people's faces. So be mindful of that. As you are on your run, just make sure to communicate with the people around you. Make sure, as I know it is a race, just be mindful that we're all out here running at the same time. So that is a very, very easy tip to just take into your back pocket. So those are my 5 tips from the Berlin Marathon. I hope they help you heading into your next marathon. So as you guys know, I got the New York City Marathon on deck next. So I will do the same video post New York to give you some tips, tricks, and insights heading into that marathon as well.